Obama's caught and the press circles. That's the focus of tonight's Angle.
Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Her presentation was measured and methodical. And today, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, appearing in the White House briefing room, explained what led to this criminal referral regarding Obama's involvement in the Russia hoax.
DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee oversight report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the president, President Obama.
And that, of course, begs the question, will anyone be held accountable? Now, recall Obama's reaction yesterday. He brushed off Trump's allegations of treason by claiming that everyone, including Marco Rubio, then on the Senate Intel Committee, believed Russia had tried to influence the election. Director Gabbard addressed this as well.
I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you and the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals, who are some still working within these agencies today, that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn, that President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
So the point being, the alleged crime here was not saying that Russia wanted to influence the election. It was directing a new intel assessment based on the phony dossier in order to hobble the Trump presidency from day one. It went on for years, really, leaving many Americans in the 2020 election cycle to believe that Putin essentially put Trump in office. So if you're voting to re-elect Trump, you were voting for Putin. And that, basically Trump is just a Russian stooge. And Obama will, of course, dispute all of this. He's going to say he was just trying to get at the truth and that Trump and his supporters are trying to deflect from Epstein with a new conspiracy. And the press, of course, is already helping with that.
What would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working.
Of course, the press played its starring role in the 2016 and 2020 elections, most buying lock, stock, and barrel that Trump somehow colluded with Putin. And now they don't want to admit that they were wrong, that they didn't do their jobs. And by the way, they're still not doing their jobs. Today, we learned that during the campaign, DNI Gabbard says the Russian spy agency had information alleging that Hillary had huge mental health problems.
There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Well, we reached out to Hillary Clinton's office, and we have yet to hear back. Joining us now to discuss all of this, Senator Ted Cruz from the great state of Texas. Senator, are we going to actually see people held accountable here?
Look, I hope and pray that we do, and I hope that the Justice Department fully investigates this. What's critical that Tulsi Gabbard made public is not that people put out allegations that Putin wanted Trump to win. It's that they were lying and knew they were lying. That's what's explosive here, is that their repeated testimony to Congress was false. And you go through some of the facts that Tulsi put out. So, August 31st, 2016, a DHS official tells former DNI James Clapper that there was, quote, no indication of a Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual vote count. That's what they're saying in August of 2016. September 2nd, 2016, the FBI said it was, quote, uncomfortable, implying that there was definitive information that Russia intends to disrupt our elections. September 9th, the intelligence community concluded that, quote, Russia was probably not trying to influence the election by using cyber means. September 12th, same thing. December 7th, after the election, here was Clapper's talking points written, quote, foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential election outcome. December 8th, Obama's presidential daily briefing, here's what it said, quote, we assess that Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. So all the way up to December 8th, over and over and over again, they say, no Russia, no Russia, no Russia. And then December 9th, there's a meeting with DNI Director Clapper, with National Security Advisor Susan Rice, with Secretary of State John Kerry, and with Deputy FBI Director McCabe, in which they reverse their positions altogether, and they all come out to say, Russia, 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 that's why Trump got elected. And I'll tell you, this December 9th meeting, FDR famously said December 7th is a date that will live in infamy. Well, December 9th should be a day that will live in infamy, because this is a moment when senior members of our government decided to lie to the American people and to sabotage President Donald Trump, who'd just been elected by the American people.
In a CNN interview back in 2018, former DNI Chief Clapper admitted something about Obama. Watch.
If it weren't for President Obama, we might not have done the intelligence community assessment that we did, that set off a whole sequence of events which are still unfolding today, notably Special Counsel Mueller's investigation. President Obama is responsible for that, and it was he who tasked us to do that intelligence community assessment in the first place.
No, he wasn't admitting that it was all false, but he said it was Obama. This was after the entire intel community had, as you read, made their assessments, which are always changing. They're always, they're assessments. There never can be definitive conclusions. But the indication was Russia wasn't, according to even what Obama said yesterday. He's still lying.
And they suddenly erased everything they had been saying for months, and they reversed 180
Wasn't
degrees.
Obama's statement yesterday a lie when he said Russia was trying? It didn't indicate that in the intel assessments.
It didn't indicate that. But listen, Barack Obama is profoundly partisan. The people around him, they are hardcore radicals. John Brennan, who ran the CIA. Do you know who he voted for in 1976? He voted for Gus Hall. Gus Hall was the Communist Party nominee to be president because John Brennan said Jimmy Carter, who was running in 76, is not liberal enough for John Brennan. He wanted a communist. And by the way, he's admitted to this. He voted for the communist. He wanted a communist president of the United States. Well, fast forward to Barack Obama, and his wish came true. And understand, these partisans are so contemptuous of the American people. What was the Russia hoax about? It was about subverting democracy. They were mad at the voters that they elected Donald Trump.
They want to punish him.
It's the exact same sentiment that led to the lawfare last year of indicting Donald Trump 4 times. That ultimately was not about their hatred for Trump. It was about their contempt for the voters. They wanted to stop the American people from reelecting President Trump. And that contempt for the voters is manifestly through this willingness to lie to Congress and lie to the American people.
All day long, the predictable suspects were saying, well, this is just an attempt to deflect from Epstein. This is all old news, nothing new here, move right along. You just don't want to talk about the Epstein files. That's what they're saying.
Well, except for the fact that that's objectively wrong. There is a lot new here. Over and over and over again, the Obama intelligence community said Russia is not trying to influence this election, not trying to change the outcome, and by the way, is not trying to elect Donald Trump. That was their big narrative, is Putin wanted Trump. Well, what Tulsi Gabbard just told us is that Putin had dirt. We don't know if it's true or not, but had dirt that you just played about Hillary Clinton having serious emotional and mental problems and being on heavy tranquilizers. And Putin didn't release it. If he wanted Trump to win,
right, that doesn't make any sense.
He presumably would have released it. But yet, magically, facts that are inconvenient to the Democrats' political narrative, they disappear.
A member of the press today asked if, because of the Supreme Court's decision, John Roberts' decision in the immunity case, could Obama? It was basically implying that Obama has no vulnerability here in an investigation. Briefly describe why that's not accurate 100%.
Look, it is challenging. What the Supreme Court has said in the immunity cases, official decisions are protected by official immunity. So it's clear, for example, Barack Obama ordered a drone strike on Anwar al-Awlaki, an American citizen. He cannot be prosecuted for that because that was an official action. That's what the Supreme Court said. By the way, FDR could not be prosecuted for dropping atom bombs on Japan. Truman could not be prosecuted. Oh, there's a whole host of actions. Rather, Truman for dropping atom bombs, FDR for detaining Japanese citizens. Internment. The point is, official decisions of the president.
So is December 9th an official decision? That's a hard call.
Look, there would be an argument about it. I'll tell you.
He's not going to be prosecuted for treason. That's not going to happen.
He's not going to be prosecuted in all likelihood for treason, but where the criminal liability will start is with members of the Obama administration who went under oath before Congress and lied, flat out lied. We know Jim Clapper has lied repeatedly, and that will be the beginning of the investigation. Also, fabricating evidence. That investigation needs to play out. This is a very important new trove of information Tulsi Gabbard has released.
Is Comey in trouble, in your view? He's a smart guy. He's not a dumb person, right?
Look,
so he, like Obama, they get kind of careful how they word certain things. And
it depends what he knew and when he knew it. Comey is someone who I think had delusions of grandeur. He wanted to be J. Edgar Hoover. It was a serious mistake that President Trump didn't fire him on January 20th, 2017. That was one of the most consequential mistakes of the first Trump administration. By the way, one he didn't repeat in this administration. Right. The second term, I will say President Trump has hit the ground running, very different from the first term. And I think he learned a lot of lessons in the first term and also in the 4 years being out of power. I will say this, Laura, we have never seen in your and my lifetime.
Never.
6 months with remotely as much accomplished as we've seen the Trump presidency and this Republican House and Senate do.
Never happened. Never I worked for the Reagan administration. Yeah. It didn't happen in Reagan, not in my lifetime.
There is a volume and velocity. President Trump had the Republican senators over to the White House for dinner on Friday celebrating these victories.
Yeah.
It is incredible. There's a lot more to come.
All right. Senator Cruz, don't be a stranger. Great to see you in studio. Thanks so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.